Hi guys, it's Roy here from Teesside Therapy Clinic. Just want to do a quick video on self-worth. Self-worth. So, you can tell I thought about this way in advance. I've got it all written down and everything. I haven't, no. I posted something up on social media about self-worth, and there's been a lot going up and around recently around how we should be putting worth onto ourselves and giving ourselves self-worth, or nobody else will. And if we aren't putting value onto ourselves, if we don't value ourselves, then why on earth should anybody else? And I suppose that works the other way as well. And for some of us, we do. We value other people naturally, and we see them not value themselves. And we say the same thing to them. We say, man, you should value yourself. Are we doing the same? And that is one of the questions that we've got to ask ourselves quite often. Am I putting someone else's needs, wants, desires above my own? Do I value other people more than I value them? And there's something called the OK Corral, which I won't spend too much talking about, but it's kind of, if you see it as a grid, as a corral, a square with another cross in the section, so there's 4 little squares, and on one side it says I'm okay, you're okay, I'm not okay, you're not okay. And it's kind of looking at where we sit on the OK Corral. And it can change, it can adapt at certain points, and it can change for different people as well. So I'm okay, you're okay is a really good, healthy position to be in. It's where I see myself as being okay, I see you being okay, and our relationship can be healthy. I'm okay, you're not okay. That's not a good position to be in. Ideally, it's where people will be, I'll talk about me for instance, it's where I would be looking down upon people or looking on them as not being okay, and I am okay. Kind of a bit narcissistic in essence, really. And then there's the I'm okay, you're not okay. I'm okay, you're not okay. I'm getting confused with myself here. You're okay, I'm not okay. Well, I'm not okay, you're not okay. The I'm not okay is what I see quite often as a therapist. It's what I see quite often, fairly often, is where people haven't or aren't feeling that self-worth for whatever reason at that moment in time. And it's quite saddening. I'm feeling a little bit of sadness right there for that moment in time, because for whatever reason they're just not feeling okay. They don't feel okay about themselves, about their abilities, who they are. They're feeling unworthy. And we do go through moments in life, so I've gone through moments in time where I've not felt worthy, and I guess it's subjective as well, it's objective. It can be where I am and with who I'm with at certain points in time. So I could be feeling really, really positive about who I am and feeling really good about myself, and then come up against somebody or meet up with somebody who I see as being an absolute success at life. And that can push me back into a childlike state of not feeling okay. And that's effectively what it is. It's a childlike state. I haven't spoken, I will speak, and I will be doing blogs on my website with regards to transactional analysis, TA, and in specific, the PAC model. I'll be exploring the PAC model at some point in the future for anybody who doesn't know what it is, and I'll be looking at what that actually means. But to put that to one side, because it's a completely different subject, in us all, we see this often, and pretty much every single psychological theory, and certainly psychotherapeutic theory, talks about the child within, talks about the child that is inside all of us, our own inner child. And that is true. And now, depending on how our child was raised, depending on our child's experiences in those early years, depends on ours. It can't really talk about it as a separate entity, but it almost is, kind of, in a weird way. So how it was raised, its early experiences give it a kind of baseline for its feelings of self-worth. Now, imagine a baby being born to very in-tune parents who just instinctively always knew what was up with the child, didn't get upset or bothered when the child was crying, was always very in tune, eye contact, picked it up a lot, knew exactly how to deal with that child all the way through those early years. Imagine such a thing. I don't know if there ever could be such a thing, because even as a parent myself, I acknowledge that sometimes I've got something going on and my child comes over to me and says, Daddy, do this, and I'm like, whoa, hang on, just let me finish what I'm doing, please. In fact, actually, that happens quite a lot when I think about it. So imagine a reality, or imagine a place where this child has been raised completely in that way. And for most people, they've got a good balance. For a majority, I wouldn't say most, it's about 60%, I think, are raised where the parents are actually quite attuned, do put themselves to a point where they do stay in tune with the child, and they feed the child really wholesome, good stuff, good loving, all the way through the early years, and try and acknowledge the child as their own human, as their own entity, give them the freedom to explore the world, but at the same time are there to help protect and pick up when they need it. That child will grow up feeling lots of self-worth, feeling understood, naturally understood by the outside world, confident in their own abilities, confident in their own abilities, and confident that other people around them will be in tune with them and will work with them to help them achieve their goals and stuff like that. It's just natural to believe that that would happen. Now, for the other 40%-ish, give or take a person or two, we grow up with parents that are busy, struggle themselves in life, or don't quite know how to attune to a child all the time, or maybe attune to a child in the first 2 years, and then when they get to the terrible twos, really start struggling with those. I don't know why I call it terrible twos, because let's be honest, it's into the threes as well. So who really struggle with the child, wants to start crying and being demanding and being obnoxious, because that's what babies are effectively when they start being like that, and actually very narcissistic, because that's where narcissism comes from. It comes from a stage in a child's life where it is completely selfish, sees everything as an extension of itself, and does not acknowledge the difference, does not see anything wrong in its desires, or any regulation with regards to what it desires. So this other child, as we're talking about, grows up not getting what it needs all of the time, not getting attuned to most of the time, and then grows up feeling as though it isn't worthy, it's not getting the attention, its self-worth is low, and then it stops asking, and it starts to please other people. So especially where you've got parents who are struggling from work or depression or anxiety themselves, and they need support, the child suddenly takes it upon themselves to make the parent happy, to keep itself safe, because the caregiver is the safety. So intrinsically, a lot of us grow up learning to keep other people happy and to put other people first. And even as parents, we think that we're doing that with our children. Quite often we're putting our children first, we're putting other people first. And when we're asked to do stuff, we might have ourselves in a position naturally where I'm not okay, but everyone else is. Unless our parents were abusive, and then it's I'm not okay, you're not okay. You can see where that correlation happens. The difficulty is that this self-worth concept is ever changing, and we can change it. You can have somebody who's really, really confident all of their life, really positive, really has a lot of self-worth, and someone comes along, or something happens that diminishes their self-worth, and they feel unworthy. They feel as though they don't have the capabilities and the abilities to look after themselves and other people, and they struggle in life. Or you can have somebody who was brought up not getting all of those needs met on a regular, consistent basis, and then becomes quite a belief that they aren't worthy and they put other people first. Like, I'm not okay, so everyone else is. And to keep me safe because I'm not okay, at least if I keep everyone else okay, then I am okay, but I'm not okay. If that makes sense. So and then they start to learn themselves actually that they can't expect the outside world to make them okay, because actually that hasn't worked so far. And to grow out of that child belief and to start seeing the world from an adult perspective. The pack model, by the way, is parent, adult, child. So we've got the child. The adult perspective is where we'd ideally want to be. The part of us that takes in information right here, right now, and accepts the reality for what it is. We start to grow up. We start to acknowledge that the outer world can't give us worth. So we have to give ourselves worth. But how do we do that when we've not learned how to do that? How do we do that maybe when our primary caregivers, our parents, haven't shown us how to value ourselves, and maybe they weren't valuing themselves properly either. And it becomes a whole new skill set, a whole new thing to learn for us to be able to do that. Now, I'm not going to bore you for ages about how this is done. It's a lifelong progressive thing for us to learn. It's something that we can develop, and it's a skill set that we can develop whenever we want. But it first starts with valuing yourself. Value yourself. Putting worth onto you. Understanding that you have needs and you have wants. And your wants and your needs are more important than anyone else's. Now, I know a few of you parents or a few of you people who care for other people, like, no, that's not true. That goes against everything I believe. No, it can't be right. What about my children? My children's wants and needs are more important than mine. Yes, to a certain degree they are, but at another time, no, they're not. They shouldn't be. And I always remember the first course that I ever went on to, my counselling course, basic listening skills, back in 1999, 22, yeah, 22. Wow, God, I feel old. Don't know what I'm looking at the camera there. Look at my grey hairs. Yeah, I'm old, right? Okay, moving on. So, so in 1999, I was on this listening skills course, and the trained counsellor was saying, give us an example about a plane crash. You crash on an island as you and your child. The plane has crashed. Everyone else has died. There is one bottle of fresh water. You can't see any other fresh water around. Both of you are thirsty. Who gets to drink that water? Now, I know there's a load of you right now that will go, well, I'll give it to my kid. Obviously, I'll give it to my kid. Logic would dictate that we drink the water, though. Logic would dictate that we look after ourselves. And somebody else has said this over the years as well. It's a bit like in the aeroplane when they say, put your mask on first and then help your child put their mask on. Because if you haven't got your mask on, how are you going to be able to do that for your child? And it's the same sort of analogy as the bottle of water. If you look after yourself first, if you make sure that you're at maximum capacity and maximum ability to be able to deal with life, not only are you then able to supply better for your children, you've got more energy, more mental energy to be able to give your children your time properly, in tune with your children. I'm not just saying be there to cook, clean, wipe backsides and stuff like that. I'm on about actually sitting and spending time and playing and be in tune with the child. When you've got more energy yourself, you're able to do that, but you've got to give yourself that energy. You have to be able to take care of yourself, to put yourself in a position where you can give to your children, where you can give to your loved ones and to other people around you. And if you're not able to do that, the reason is because you're probably giving them too much, and you have done consistently for most of your life. And if you're not taking care of yourself, how can you take care of anybody else effectively? So first and foremost, it comes from giving yourself value. Understanding that you have value. Your children are very important. Your husband and your wife is very important. The people around you that you love are very important. When you go to work, yes, your clients, your customers, your work colleagues, they're all important, but not more important than you. Nobody ever is more important than you, because when you are full, wholesome, full of goodness and life and love and compassion, you're then able to filter that out to other people and feed them in turn as well. But if you're feeding other people out of an empty barrel, you're not feeding them. You just think you are. You're giving them empty substance, and you're not feeding their self-worth, and it becomes a cycle. So yeah, as a sharing process, I mean, I know that my parents instinctively gave their life, thought they were giving their life to their children, but because they were so tired, because they were so drained from what they thought they were doing all the time, actually stopped them from being able to do it on a very micro level. So they were too tired from working all the time. You know, they'd work 40, 50 hours a week, and then they'd come home, they'd cook tea, they'd clean the house, and they'd sit in front of the TV and just look at the TV. Not really engage in any conversation, not really get to know their children too much, certainly as we grew older. Now, how many of us do that now? How many of us actually just sit and just stare at a TV screen, and the child comes over and goes, "Look at this picture I've drawn," and you go, "Oh yeah, it's lovely that, yeah." Shh, not now, Daddy's watching TV. Something really important is happening on EastEnders. Cat Slater is, I don't even know if Cat Slater's still around because I've not watched it for years, but Cat Slater's probably up to something. Is it Alfie Moon these days? Do you know what? I think I seen it a little while ago. Didn't she get with Danny Dyer? I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Right, but you get what I'm saying. You get what I mean. So we're not giving our child the full energy because we've emptied ourselves so much. We've given it all to work. We've given it all to work. So when we come home, and the only reason we're going to work is to pay the bills so we can take care of our family. But then we're coming home and our child is sat there colouring in on their own, or watching their iPad on their own, or, you know, whatever it is that they're doing. Because we're having to recharge ourselves by doing nothing and zoning out of the outside world in our head and just sitting and watching fucking Cat Slater. Think about it. Start giving ourselves some value. Start valuing ourselves. Learn to say no to other people, and actually, and inside as well, let them say no to us. So what? They're taking care of themselves. I'm okay, you're okay. You have every right to ask me to do something. I'm not going to get angry if you ask, but I've got every right to say no. And I've got every right to ask you, and you've got every right to say no. Because I value myself and I value you as well. And let's face it, we're all just on this revolving orb in the middle of the galaxy, universe, just trying to get on in life. But we can't take care of others until we've taken care of ourselves. And that's my base meaning, the self-worth. Because we feel in a sort of paradoxical way that if we're given to everybody else, then we have value and we are of value. But actually, no, the truth is that they don't value anything because they're getting it for naught. Right? Because they're getting it free all the time, and free has no value. So by valuing ourselves, by saying no to other people, by putting ourselves first, by making sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to take care of ourselves, to recharge our batteries, we're then on full power to be able to give to other people. And all of this doesn't come naturally, it doesn't come instinctively. It can be learnt, it can be practiced, it can be taught, it can be practiced over years effectively. And we're not always going to get it right. But we start now. We start trying to take care of ourselves now by saying little no's here and there. People around us might not be used to it. They might be used to us holding ourselves of very little value. I don't know, I just got the mental image there of the real worn down mother who just seems to do nothing but look after her children. The children are her life. You know, if she's able to say no from time to time and give herself some power back, then she's teaching their children on an unconscious level that she has power and they also have power as well, and to respect other people's power. I wonder, you know, there's a little thought there, because part of the developmental stages in our childhood is the narcissistic stage. It's a stage of narcissism. It's approximately 2 or 3 year old, where the whole world evolves around me. Me and my needs. Feed me and my needs. Give me and do me. And I wonder if there's a link between a child that gets everything it wants at that point on a material level, that grows up to be relatively narcissistic, Machiavellian in the way that they expect the whole world to pander to their desires and never actually take responsibility to get their own desires. I wonder, just a bit of food for thought. Anyway, thanks very much for watching this video. If you're watching this video and think that you'd like to have a sit down with me and work around some NLP, some hypnotherapy, if you've got something that you just want to get off your chest or get some support around, then by all means get in touch. You can inbox the page, Teesside Therapy Clinic on Facebook. You can check out my website as well, www.teessidetherapy.co.uk. And just hit me up. I do home visits, or I've got a couple of hubs out in the Teesside area, so Stockton, Middlesbrough, Redcar, Northallerton, Hartlepool. I do outreach as well, and it can be looking at anything and everything. These are just the musings. These videos are just musings on what I'm thinking about at that moment in time. But some of the stuff that I do specialise in is stopping smoking, losing weight. Not that I like to use the words losing weight, but it's one that stands out for most people. Weight management, I think, is probably the better way of looking at it, and changing our thought processes around eating and exercise and stuff like that, which is what we need to do in order to get to a weight that we want to be. Motivational work. Anyone who's just generally feeling stuck in life, not quite knowing what to do. I love to do some of the longer work. I enjoy it. The anxiety, the depression, the self-worth and stuff like that. There's a lot of quick change techniques that can be put in early on, but the longer those sessions progress, the more of a relationship can be built up, and it can be a wonderful thing. It can be beautiful. So anyway, beyond that, let me end this with a thank you very much for watching the video. Please take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, however long it is from when you're watching this, and thank you very much. Bye bye.